Hi guys, my name is Christina and welcome to my channel. And on this channel we talk a lot about comics and I'm sharing everything I've learned as I've been creating my own comic for more than 6 years. But we also talk about art, how to create art, how to enjoy creating art, and how to earn money with your art and do art professionally, because this is something I've been doing all my career. If any of this is interesting to you, please feel free to engage with buttons down below. It really helps the channel and I hope channel in turn can help you. And in this video I wanted to talk to you about small things that I like to add to my comic. All of these are not in any particular order, they're not particularly organized. It's just something that I thought about, that I keep thinking about as I'm creating my comic, and just keep in mind, like adding like just my personal preferences and my personal weird things that I like to add. And I just thought I'm gonna have this fun video for you guys where I'm gonna talk about them and explain why I like adding them, just to give you fellow creators some ideas and thoughts and share. That I really like to add is day to night transition, or like time of day transition. I really like to pay attention to what time of day it is, and since I'm following different POVs, I want it all to match, unless they're geographically far away from each other and time zones work differently. But overall I really like paying attention to this, and I like having time of day transition throughout the scene. I don't like having just one scene in it's just day or it's just night, it's just this time. I like to make my sky and my lighting constantly changing. I really like to have this transitional movements, or I like to just show that the background is also dynamic. It's not really static, even though I pre-draw my backgrounds, but I really like to draw with this. I like to go from evening-ish, the end of day, then sunset, then this twilight feeling, then night, but you still have this sun glow somewhere in the distance. There's redness, but overall everything is dark. I don't know, I'm just really a fan of the fact that nature changes so fast, and this is something that I'm gonna be introducing a little bit more, is that I want to show how sky itself is changing. I want to show clouds moving. I want to show clouds changing shape, and it's not something that you can see in all of the scenes, so it doesn't make sense to do it for all types of scenes. But for the some that, for example, take some time, I like to also implement like change of weather a little bit. It's sunny now, and then it's overcast for a second, and then it's sunny again, and the clouds a little bit moving. So this is something that I really like. I like to make my backgrounds and settings dynamic and have life of their own, and because in real life it's never usually just one setting and nothing changes. So this is something that I love adding. Yeah, so this is number one. Another one that I really love is silent beats or silent moments, because I know that my comic is a very long story and it makes sense to get to the next plot point as fast as possible and just keep the story rolling. And I also understand that I post my story a page per week, so it's really slow for readers. But when I create my story, I think of experience of a person who is binge reading it and just going through the whole story. I like to create ebb and flow of action, of tension, and of being stressed and then being relaxed throughout the story, so it's easier for my story to just keep going and for you to keep reading it. And that's why I really like to add those silent beats and silent moments, or engage the whole panel of just one moment of stillness and silence. And because I really think that it's good for plot to rest, and I really think it's create like relaxation within the reader as they go to the story, so they don't feel the need to just close the comic, close it on the internet tab and just go do something else and then return to it. It just makes you more involved and going. And I like the story to breathe, as well as I feel those moments are really important for a reader to kind of signal to them to think about what just happened and be prepared for more things that will happen next, kind of digest whatever was happened. Because I really don't like those things in movies, especially where plot is just goes, or overall I don't like the stories that have this crazy pace and there is no moment for slowing down. And I feel life comes in all different speeds, and I want to create kind of the same feeling in the comics. And I think like those silent beats, they're very important. Even between like dialogues, I like to have just one when the character is just thinking or thinking of something, or just pause, I don't know, or just there's a moment of you just gonna look at the scenery instead of dialogue itself. This is something that I like adding and enjoy really drawing, and I enjoy having this in other stories. Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, this is the moment where plot is not happening and you're really present in the world and with the character. So yeah, this is one of my favorite things to add as well. Another one that I absolutely love is small rules, small sequences of rules that I set for myself, and there's not something that I want reader to notice. It's something that I want reader who really pays attention to notice, but it's mostly something for myself, like small things that I do in my comic to be organized instead of rules. Like small example of what I do, for example, the covers, how I create covers, they all have logic because I have POVs, and every POV, depending on what character character we're talking from. I'm really showing off the world, what the character knows, basically information that is presented through this POV connected with what this POV is aware about. But when I do covers is almost like kind of like this God's view a little bit, or just creator's view. So covers can give you this extra information, and what covers are focusing on is not what any character, any POV would focus on. It's something that I as a creator would focus on, and just kind of tell you, hey, pay attention to this, how about this? I don't know, it's just the focus of the covers, whatever is portrayed on the covers, the focus of this imagery is driven not by character, not by story, but by somebody outside of the story like myself. And it's like I have this logic within my covers. Another one that I really like to do is how I introduce a POV. So for me, in my story, I have a rule. Every POV starts basically, so we, for example, can meet a character, or this character exists, but this character becomes a POV only after this character is in contact with either two main characters, Sakai or Kuroi, still my protagonist, but originally throughout the chapter 1, it's mostly Sakai, and whoever Sakai is in contact with, and whoever kind of, like, this character needs to be introduced through Sakai's eyes, and then this character becomes POV. Sakai was the character that started the story, she is the POV that starts the story, and then she interacts with Kuroi, and then Kuroi becomes a POV. She also saw Ivory, and Ivory becomes a POV, then she interacted with Juria, and then Juria becomes a POV, and even antagonist, the moment Sakai interacts with antagonist, then antagonist is able to become POV. It's not like it's necessary, they will, not like everybody she interacts with becomes POV, but character can become POV after they kind of introduced to Sakai in the first book. But also it kind of works with my second protagonist, Kuroi, not as much as with Sakai. Kuroi is mostly we are really in his head, but we get POV of Pigeon that he has, and we will get POV of some people that he's traveling alongside, and then he stopped traveling with them, he goes his own way, but we get a little POV of those characters, and only after they interacted with Kuroi for some period of time. So this is kind of those small type of rules that I like having for myself, that are not necessarily, again, like rules of the creating a comic, but it's something that I like establish, like small limitations that create this inner logic of my comic. Next one is really strange, is really minor, but this is something that I really like, you know, doing, is making pupils in the eye to react correctly to the lighting situation. I'm really not a fan when in comics or even in cartoons, pupils just stay the same. They're kind of the size is fluctuating depending on characters' emotions. But pupils, their main purpose is just to react to the amount of light. If there is very bright outside, they will shrink to make sure they don't get as much light in, so they don't get like blind and overwhelmed with light. And if it's dark, they expand, and it means they can take as much light in to allow you to see. This is something that I really like drawing. So in night environments, I really like making my characters' pupils larger and like as large as they should be. And during the daytime, I like keeping them small. And of course, I use pupils to express emotions. For example, my character can be in dark environment, but if the character is surprised, I will shrink the pupils for this panel when I exaggerate this emotion. But then otherwise, the pupils will be large in the dark lighting, in the dark setting. So this is small, but this is really something that I'm passionate about, the pupil size. Keep it legit realistic. So yeah, I really like to play with this and make it correct and physically realistic. Another thing that I like doing is to create different way of how information is revealed depending on POV. For example, I'm thinking about a POV, like they're different characters, and the way they're gonna tell you information is gonna be very different and gonna depend on their personality. For example, Sakai, we get information about her as she learns it, as she remembers something. This immediately, as like we get it immediately. Or if she has problems remembering something, or if she's, for example, something strange is happening in her memory is sporadic, we might not get access to those things because she doesn't have access to those things. But the moment she remembers, or the moment she pays attention to something, this is where we get information. However, with Kuroi, this character is more reserved, and this character is almost a little bit more aware of the fact that somebody is watching, and he will not tell you information. The only time we get information from him is if, for example, he doesn't have control over when this information is coming up. For example, he has this flashbacks that about traumatic event that happened to him, and those flashbacks, he kind of can't control them. They kind of stun him too as they appear, and those we get access to. However, what actually happened, we don't. Like, we don't have the access to the whole picture because he doesn't want to think about it, he doesn't want to dive into this, he doesn't want to let us know about this. It's like something like this, and we don't get access to his plans and his thoughts because he's more reserved. I like to have those small rules of how information is revealed depending on POV. Is almost my way to communicate a little bit of character through the way information is revealed. I'm not sure if it's like supposed to be like the right writing rule, but this is something that I like doing, and I don't know, enjoy. I think it adds personality to the POV. Another one that I like doing is not directly tell you the information. If something is plot relevant, I like to show this kind of information reveal in a very low-key way. I'm not making like a huge stress on it, and I kind of like make my readers to work a little bit to connect the dots. And yeah, so for example, if the character, like I have a scene where one character sends a pigeon to another character, and this is kind of the point of how it's revealed that those two characters know each other. So instead of making one character send a message saying a pigeon, they talk through pigeons, sending a pigeon and sending pigeon to this character, and then another character receiving it, and the pigeon kind of saying who the character is from, or the character reacts and saying, oh, the pigeon and the message from so and so. Instead of doing this, the scene goes is that character who is sending the message just says to the pigeon, says, say to Ivory, I said hi. And then we get to another character whose name we don't know yet, and then she just gets a pigeon who says hi. And this is kind of how I like doing it, and obviously in the end, through more information layered on top, whoever missed that will get the full picture. It's not that I'm trying to confuse my readers, they will get the information eventually, but I like to not have this dun 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 moments. I don't like those moments. I like it to be subtle when people go like, wait, was that that? And then obviously then narrative confirms it. Yeah, so I like doing that, kind of like you have to be a little bit more tuned into the story to get it. And it's like, this is a very small example, but I like doing it. The characters on the background sometimes will appear in other backgrounds. And yeah, so basically don't get relaxed, watch out. And since my story is released a page per week, it's not too much to ask. You have enough time to, you know, pay attention to all of this. Another one that I like to add, this one is a little bit tricky because it's obviously kind of interferes with clarity of the story, so you have to be a little careful, but I like to have certain unclarity and bias in opinions and people's recounting on known things, because kind of like to do what, you know, we have in real life. So if we have like some event that happened, some war, some speech, some bad negative event, and we ask the people about it, people will have, they will not tell you historical information. They will not tell you, oh, this and this happened in this year and this what occurred. People will give you your opinions about what they think happened and their own opinion about that. And this is kind of that I like to keep in mind, and kind of people having their own biases and information being always unclear. And unless you've been there, you don't get the whole grasp, and you're gonna have this almost mythical ideas of those big events that happened, and this kind of vibe of it being hard to decipher. And this is kind of one of the points of my story is called the Book of Contradiction. So it's like the idea of contradictions, and we have the people in the story, there's basically two races. There are four races, but like the some of two races, they're just such minority, but the main bulk of population is these two races that have this opposite looks a little bit. They have gods that are opposing thematically, opposing archetypes and stuff like this. And the whole idea of the story is like, no matter if everything looks kind of black and white, nothing is ever black and white. Everything is different shades of gray. So this is kind of like also something that I like to add to my story to kind of reinforce one of the main ideas. So yeah. And the last thing that I want to mention today that I like to add is memories. And I know not a lot of people like memories. A lot of writers can consider it a cheat because this is getting information not through the narrative. It's just like, you know, the right information comes in the right time type of thing. But I personally like memories not for the information about the character, but information about character's character. What is important for them, what they're remembering, what they're thinking about it, what still stuck in their head as they go through the day, what things remind them of and stuff like this. This is why I like memories. And you know, a lot of parts of our personality is what happened to us in the past on small things. They build us as we go. This is why I really like showing memories, because I think they kind of enrich people. And if you meet new people, a lot of things that we learn about them is their past, and this is how we can understand how their past built them. And past is so important, and past can set up how we go into the future, or it can prevent us from going to the future and being constantly stuck in the past and old patterns. To me, memories, they represent individual parts of the person and the focus of what this person had during certain past events and what they learned. And it's not just for the character growth, it's just for the character personality, what they pay attention to, what they choose to remember now, what they like thinking about, and just, yeah, overall. So that's kind of why I like adding memories, and I really think they add complexity to the personality rather than just to the plot and just telling the story of this character. So yeah, memory is something that I like to add, and I don't mind doing it through dream sequence and characters just having a memory of something. So, but remember what I said about those certain rules that I have? I like to add those kind of kind of rules applied into memories and how memories reveal and have certain logic of how information is revealed. So I pick and choose and I mix and match. So yeah, so this is something that I also love doing. So that's it for today's video. Those are just some things that I like to add to my comic. I thought it might be interesting to tell you them. And what are things that you like to add in your story? Leave them down in the comments down below. Let's chat, let me know. I'm very curious. And yeah, so thank you so much guys for watching. I hope you're having a good day, and I hope you'll have a good day till my next video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you guys.